We're live. Hey everyone, this is Diane Needle, and we are live streaming on our first segment of our Home Sellers series. This was a brainchild that our office talked about because there's always been home buyer seminars out there, but at the end of the day, I think buyers have lots of online resources to go to, but sellers don't, and they don't sell a house very often. There are so many sellers that I've been meeting with who are scared. They have no idea about the process. They're sometimes embarrassed about the condition of their home. And so we thought we would try this out. This is my first time ever streaming live on Facebook. So hopefully I don't know. We'll see what happens. I might be talking to myself all night, or people will tune in. But regardless, I hope I do bring some value to people. The market, it's all really people talk about. I mean, I'm in real estate, so I live, eat, and breathe this 24 hours a day. But wherever we go, it's all over the news, the COVID and what it did to the market and where the market is now in 2021. And prices through the roof. Buyers can't find a house. Everything is having multiple offers, and sellers, a lot of them want to jump on the bandwagon. And they're making a lot of mistakes too when they try to do that. So I want to cover some of those mistakes. People that signed up for tonight, a few things came up. One, people want to know about the process on selling a home. And the steps involved, how long it takes. Other people want to know where can they go, really, because there's not, you sell high, but then again, you're buying high. And a lot of people want to downsize to condominiums or for places with first floor masters, and that's something else. So we're going to talk about that. What else did we hear? Biggest concerns were worrying that they're not going to get an offer, thinking that they want a certain number and they're not going to get that number. We'll talk about that and how pricing is really important. And we'll talk about how to prepare the house for sale and any other questions that people have. So that's what we're going to do. I'm trying to, I see we have some people watching. This is great. I think I see Justin watching. Thanks, Justin, for being on. So I did present, I did put some slides together. I just want to show, one thing here. Let me see if I can figure out how to do this. If I click on this, oh, there we go. That was pretty good. I'm getting the hang of this. This is, let me see I hope everybody can see this. This is just a sample. This is nationwide, put out by the National Association of Realtors, and this is 2021. These are the inventory levels right now in 2021 and what's happening. Look at how low they were. This is across the country, 870,000 homes across the country. Now, most people that get on, they don't really care about the nationwide. That's what you hear on the news all the time. But at the end of the day, your hyper-local market is what you need to be most concerned about, right? Because while inventory is low around the country, what's going on in your neighborhood, in your town, could be very different from the town next door to you. But right now, look at this. What you can see the trajectory. The numbers are going up. Which is normal, right? We came out of COVID, and the weather started getting warmer, and sellers started putting their houses on the market. So while we are not in the frenzy that we were back in February and March, I would argue that it's still a seller's market. And actually, let me show you that too. I want to see, here we go right here. This is this is pretty impactful right here. Let me see if I can show you that. Thank you for your patience, everyone who's watching. This is just a little bit new to me here. Can you guys see that slide? There we go. Months of inventory of homes for sale. Look at that. So neutral market, to be quite honest with you, everyone, it's funny when we're out and about, oh, must be good to be a real estate agent now, huh? Well, you know what? It's difficult. It's not easy working with buyers for months on end when, they don't have the budget they fall in love with houses and they know there's going to be multiple offers and they know they can't compete because maybe they're not 20% down, or maybe they're not cash down. Maybe they're simply 5% down or 10% down. And they're first-time home buyers. They don't want to waive home inspection. So you know what? We've had buyers lose out on houses, and it's sad. And some of them have taken themselves out of the market because it's so competitive. So that's where we are today. When you see in the green today, it's a seller's market. There's only 1.5, look at that, 1.5 months of inventory. So basically what that means is if everyone in the market bought every home that's available now, there's 1.5 months of inventory. It's called the absorption rate, and all the inventory would be absorbed if nothing else comes on the market. To be honest with you, working in a neutral market where there's 6 to 7 months of inventory, that's a lot nicer, right? It's a lot easier. And yes, sellers, we're here to talk about sellers. You guys are going to make out, right? It's a seller's market. You bought your house. Even if you bought 3 years ago, we're seeing people who have accumulated a ton of equity already, even in a short 3-year period because of what's going on in today's market. I've had offers. We listed one house that went $100,000, actually more, over asking price, and they only bought it about 16 months ago, and they made over $100,000 from when they had bought it. Only that about 16 months ago. So there you have it. It's just, it's crazy. But again, for buyers, it's difficult. So this just shows someday we'll get back to that neutral market. But as you see, it's going to take a little bit of time. There's a lot of factors in place that's keeping the market the way it is right now. So let me get back here. Let me see if I can do this one. There we go. I have some comments here. Oh, Sharon, thank you so much. Thank you so much. This is great. Sharon is a seller of mine. She's one of our success stories. And thanks for being here, Sharon, and watching. So you can tag all your friends, let them know we're here talking about selling their home, and I'll give them the same kind of tips I gave to you one-on-one. And it's, we talked about preparing and presenting your house, and it's just so important. I think when we have such a tight market like this, sellers have been guilty of saying, I can just throw it on the market because there's a ton of people out there that want my house. But at the end of the day, I would argue that they're leaving a lot of money on the table if you don't take the time to present it properly. We're seeing houses go back on the market because things that were happening back in February and March are not happening now. So I think the market, what's really crazy about the market we're in right now is we're seeing it change almost every few weeks. We're seeing things change. I know that what I would have listed a house for back in February and March, that same house today, probably listed for a different number. And that's part of the mistakes sellers make. And that's something that we'll talk about as well. All righty. Well, maybe I should just keep diving in. Let me see who's here. I've got Sam adding you to the stream. Welcome, Sam. Can you hear me? Not sure.
Are you looking for the...
Sam, are you on? Can you hear me?
You're good. You're good to stop.
I am.
All right, I think I'm going to mute. You
I'm
want
here. Good.
Are you on?
I am.
Hey, Sam, how are you? Where are you from?
Sharon.
You are.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you for joining. Tell me about what your biggest concern is, or what interested you in this seller series tonight. What can I help you with?
I will be looking to sell in maybe a year or a little more. So
Okay.
I'm just wanting to see what conditions the market will be in around that time.
Sure. So, as I tell people, nobody has a crystal ball, right? But we're not in a situation that and I've heard this over and over again, are we in a bubble again, right? When people see the prices going up so dramatically, especially in Sharon, we've seen so much appreciation. I think what happens is the market right now, the conditions that were present in 2008 during the crash are not the conditions that we have now. The conditions that we have now are low inventory and low interest rates. And because of COVID, the supplies are difficult and expensive for home building. For all of these reasons, and also still a lot of buyer demand, people still want to buy and come to the suburbs. So for all of those reasons, the market, all indicators, all of the top economists that we track in my business, they're anticipating that this market's going to stay the way it is for at least another 2 to 5 years. I don't think we're past that frenzy that we saw back in February, March, April. But you're still in a seller's market, and I think you're going to do very well. Now, what could affect that? There's one, let me see if I can, this is a good time to talk about, let me get over here, right here. Can you guys see this slide right here?
Yes.
Sam, can you see that? So these are the interest rates that buyers are looking at in 2021, right? Look at January, 2.65%. Is that insane? So January, March, and these are 30-year fixed rates provided to me by Jason Evans at Guaranteed Rate. Thank you, Jason, for these. March, the rate was 3.02. In May. So it was all hovering around 3, right? But it can't last forever, right? They're the lowest they've ever been. So, Sam, what I think you might experience is if you wait a year, I think values are not going to go anywhere. I think your values will remain, but we don't know what's going to happen with interest rates. And so that's sort of the unknown. All indicators are that they are going to be going up. We don't know how fast they're going to be going up, but they will start trying to stimulate the economy. And what happens when you're a seller is it affects people's buying power, right? So when the interest rate goes up to, if it were to go up to 4%, if it were to go up to 5%, look at the difference, right? Someone that could afford $1,900 a month, can they now afford that same house, that same loan? Because now that's going to cost them an extra $600 a month, right? So when that happens, that starts to affect home prices as well. So that is something we could see over the next year or two with interest rates. So that's what sellers just kind of have to watch. But other than that, I think the market's going to remain strong and remain a seller's market throughout the next couple of years at least. Yeah. Did that answer the question?
Yeah, interest rates will control that, but there are also some signs of inflation entering the economy. So the only way to combat that is to raise interest rates.
Exactly. So so that's where I think it could affect home prices when that happens, but not terribly dramatically, right?
Yeah.
Now, when you decide to sell in a year, Sam, where are you going? Do you know?
Why do you think I'm here?
Well, people are here for all different reasons. I think people are here because they want to find out where to go, like you just said, or they simply want to know how they get rid of all the stuff they've accumulated for 30 years in their house, right?
Called dumpsters.
What was that?
Dumpsters.
Yes, dumpsters are your friend. That's for sure. Oh boy, and you will be your neighbor's best friend too, Sam, when you get a dumpster, right? Don't broadcast it. Everyone will come over and want to put their TVs in there and their old mattresses. So seriously though, do you not know where you would be going if you sold?
My wife and I are discussing that because the kids are going to be out both in college, so
Okay.
we'll be downsizing. We're still both working around here, so.
And so, right. So there you have it. So your situation is a very common one where while you might be an empty nester, you may not need to pay the taxes. Where most people.
Are the taxes in Sharon high?
Sharon, Massachusetts, just a little bit, little bit high. Yeah, I think we're teetering around $20 per thousand right now. Is that about right, Sam?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're a little high here in Sharon. So yeah, it is but we're getting a gorgeous new high school. That's good.
Just as soon as my kid graduates.
Listen, it's not about the cover of the book, right? It's about what's inside, right? We've put out a very good product here in Sharon, even though we've been in a really lousy building for many years.
Yes.
But I think that for sellers in communities like Sharon, Massachusetts, where, especially in Sharon, where taxes are high, some people, you might have a Cape house, people have second homes in Florida, but a lot of people like yourselves, they're still working. You might be empty nesters, but you're not retirement age yet, and nor do you want to retire. So you need to stay in the area. You have businesses, you have jobs, and so where do you go? So what I'll tell you, what we're seeing with a lot of our sellers, there are a lot of over 55 communities sprinkled throughout, still in the suburbs. If you want to go into the city, obviously, you're going to be paying city prices, but that's an option for you. And there are, the problem around here has always been that land is so expensive that there aren't enough communities that are reasonably priced and have the amenities that we're used to living in larger homes as we raised our kids, right? Just because you're downsizing doesn't mean you want to live in, 1,000 square feet, right? So finding something that suits people's needs, maybe you're looking for one level living, or at least like a first floor master. You may want a garage, those types of things. It's difficult to find. They do exist. Some are very expensive. So while it might be a downsize from physical space and maintenance and taxes, it may not be a downsize in price point.
Yeah.
So be prepared for that.
Thanks.
Yeah, be prepared for that. What else? I've got somebody else on here, but I don't think they can get on. I don't know why. Their device is not connected. So the process of buying, selling, and then buying, it's also something that I think is really important that I talk to sellers about all the time, right? Because while you want to buy, if you have the luxury of buying something before you sell, it makes things a lot easier. You don't have to have that interim move, and you also don't have to have the coordination of selling and buying at the same day. It also works out really well, especially if you're buying something that might need a little bit of work, or you want to do some, put your own touches on it before you move in. You can do that before you end up selling your house, which is nice. Today, because people have so much equity in their house, this was an interesting, I love this slide right here, where I'm so bad at this. I'll get better, I hope. Home equity. Current average equity in America is 216,000. Is that incredible? With 38% of people owning their homes free and clear. I don't think that was the case way back when. And so now with people having a lot of equity in their houses, one thing I'm recommending that sellers do, especially if it remains competitive and inventory remains low, pull out an equity line while the rates are low on your current property. I had a seller here in Sharon actually that was looking to buy down the Cape. And you want to talk about another tight market here in Massachusetts. Cape Cod was insane. As crazy as Sharon and the surrounding towns were, Cape Cod was just crazy. And to be able to buy a house in Cape Cod, subject with a contingency like subject to selling your house, was near impossible. So thankfully, these sellers who were planning on retiring, who had a lot of equity in their house, the first step we did was to send them to a local bank and get a nice equity line on their house so that when the time came and they found something to buy, they could buy that first, right? And we got their listing ready, so we were ready to jump and get their house on the market by the time they found something and got an offer accepted. And it worked out so well for them because they put in probably 3 to 4 offers that did not get accepted. That's how competitive it was down the Cape. So if we had listed their house before they found something, it really would have been that they would have been homeless and they would have had to make that interim step, which is really something that a lot of sellers would prefer not to do. So yeah. Let's see what we have going on here. Oh, all right. I see that. All right, Jim and Jeanette, you did make it. I see that you're watching on an iPad. That's great. If you want to put in the chat, Jim, some of your questions. I think you asked, I'm trying to remember when you registered what the question that you asked. So if you want to put it in the chat, I'll be happy to address it here. That would be great. Let me know. Oh, there's Jim and Jeanette. Let's see if I can add them to the stream. Jim, can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
Oh, fantastic! I'm so sorry. I'm new at this. You gotta start somewhere, right?
I think we all are.
Thank you for your patience. Right. Yeah. I've got new sellers here that have never done it before, and I've never streamed live on Facebook. So there you go. Right.
Okay.
Welcome. Where were you from, Jim?
Well, we've been in Sharon in our home for 44 years.
Is that all?
Only 44. I'd like to say I have another 44, but I'm dubious about that. But we love it. We grew up in the city. Jeanette and I are high school sweethearts.
Oh.
We grew up in Somerville, and we had no grass and no trees. So we live in a beautiful wooded street, a beautiful neighborhood, and our house has a lot of windows and glass looking out on the woods. We love it. So we've thought a house is bigger than we need,
yeah,
and a little bit difficult as we get older to maintain, and to work around, and so we have to use our telephone and our checkbook a lot to get the help that we need. I don't mind doing it, but it is a little more encumbered. We would love to find, I think the thing I put in the question, we would love to find a condo, something like McIntosh or Red Mill Village or some others that's kind of a woodsy condo, not a large complex, not a high rise. And we've looked at them over the years, and we're willing to sell the house that has 44 years of our memories and our junk, but the question always is, before we precipitate the process, where would we go? And it's the perennial question for us. You mentioned earlier that they do exist. Those things do exist. But we haven't found the right combination.
Yeah.
So that's our dilemma more than any.
And you're not alone in that, Jim. It's terrible. There's, especially, I take it from the places that you've mentioned, you're committed to staying in the area.
Yes, we have 2 children. We have 3 children. 2 are local. One lives in New York City. We have a son and his family that live in Norton, and a daughter and her family that live in Westwood. So ideally, if we could draw a line from Westwood to Norton, somewhere tangent to that radius would be good.
Yeah.
That's kind of what we're looking for.
That's fantastic. And are you prepared to make this purchase before you sell your home?
It depends on the situation. I mean, I think we would need some time to extricate ourselves and to get rid of some of the junk that we have.
Yeah.
It's not junk to us. Every time I pick up something, I say, "Oh, I remember when we," So we're really attached to it. But we could divest.
Yeah.
It doesn't. It isn't like a contingency situation. We don't have to necessarily close couple it. We could purchase something and, take some time to transition.
Yeah.
We don't want to fix a upper, or, we don't want to be 6 months, 1 foot here, 1 foot there while they redo the bathrooms and the kitchen.
Sure.
But that's kind of what we're looking for.
And that's exactly what I was just talking about. You are in the ideal situation, having built up the equity in your house, being at the stage of life that you're at, you're, being able to take your time in making that decision, and finding something newer and being excited for it, is really the best place to be.
Yeah.
The challenge is, and I agree with you, what Jim's referring to, if for those of you who don't know, McIntosh Farms is a condominium complex in Sharon, Massachusetts. It has, many of them have first floor masters. And while the complex is older, it's not new. It's a really, really beautiful setting. And it remains very desirable despite, as you, I'm sure know, Jim, very high condo fees, right?
Yes. Yeah. Well, we have to. I'm not able to do the maintenance in our house, so we use contractors, and so I equate the so-called high condo fee with what I pay my guys, to keep me in the house. So
Right.
That's not a shocker to
Yeah.
me. We're already part of our cash flow.
Yeah. Okay, terrific. And Norton, you mentioned Red Mill Village, which is where you have a child living. That's a nice location.
Yeah.
And I think they're a little pricey, but there's another beautiful community they just put up in Westwood at Clapboard Tree Street. Are you familiar with those?
Funny, our boys went to Zavarian, which is on Clapboard Street, and we know the street. I don't know the develop. Is it being built now or prospective?
No, they're already built. I actually know a few sellers of mine in Sharon have moved over there.
Yeah.
They're Westwood's a beautiful community, so that might be something else. But so in staying in the area, there's a few places out in Millis. But the one thing that you mentioned that I think will probably be a bit challenging is the aesthetic, if you will, right?
The woodsiness.
Exactly. Not a lot of these developers, they come in and they knock down every tree that they can find. Right.
Yeah.
So you kind of lose that ambiance of where you want to move to, and I think that is like you just said, that's one reason McIntosh Farms is still so pretty.
It's all it's unique. There's another sister development to McIntosh. We have friends that actually live there. I don't know what the name of the concept, but it's in Wayland, and I mean it's Deja Vu McIntosh in Wayland. It's very, but it's in the woods, but it's very dense. It's denser than McIntosh.
Yeah.
And
there's a few other areas out in and again, it's a little further, but Millis, Ashland.
Yeah.
The further out you go, there's a few other communities but because there's more land out there, right? So
Yeah.
the further you get away, there's more land.
Yeah. Well, how about Medfield?
Medfield's another one, absolutely. Beautiful community, right?
Yeah.
So there's so is McIntosh Farm something that you like, or you want to try to look at others that may be a little bit newer and still that same feel?
If I can be frank, not to turn anybody off here, but
we're live, so don't offend anyone. I don't want to get in trouble.
Okay, the aesthetics of the buildings in McIntosh look to me like World War II troopers housing. The units are nice. The setting is exquisite. I mean, it's, to be honest, it's the nicest.
And you have really quiet neighbors.
Yeah.
I'm referring to Sharon Memorial Park, which is
and
across the street.
And Knollwood is right up the street too. So
yes,
yeah, no, it's a fantastic location. It isn't the age; it's more the aesthetics of the units. Once you're in the units, they're good. I mean, they're I mean, circa 1990 plus or minus 5 years, right?
Right.
Late 80s, early 90s. We probably looked at 4 or 5 units over the years, and we weren't ready. I mean, literally, we weren't ready then. Red Mill Village, when they first came, they have some detached homes, which kind of, McIntosh is more of a cluster, 4 or 6 units in a loop. There's some detached houses in Red Mill, but when they first went on, I mean, like 10, 15 years ago, they were $900,000, and then the prices dropped precipitously, and now.
What's the reason for that? Why did the prices at Red Mill Village seem to decrease rather than increase?
I don't have intimate knowledge of that community, Jeanette, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd have to take a look at that.
Okay.
Did something happen there with an assessment, perhaps?
Maybe.
No,
I don't know. We don't have intimate
what
knowledge.
happened is they built, I think, I don't know for a fact, they built a humongous apartment complex contiguous to the land. Actually, it was some of the land
you're right.
that Thorndike had options on, and we thought they were going to expand Red Mill Village to there, but they built, I mean, it looks to me like 500 units of it's right off of 95. It couldn't be a better location, but we don't want to live with 50, 100 people behind us,
Right. I know, because it ends up being transient. I know.
Yes.
We actually sold homes to a few people who live in those apartments who come, when they're relocating, and there's short-term rentals there, I think, perhaps as well.
Well, that's the kind of, I think, of all the things that we've explored conceptually, a nicer but still woodsy McIntosh would appeal to us.
Yeah.
So that's, we haven't found it. That's why we haven't, pulled the trigger and started really cleaning out our basement, so.
Right. And listen, the good news is, and this is what's nice when you're not in a rush, but it's something that's on your radar.
Right.
It's also nice that as you watch the market, as things come on, with the buyers that we work with, the things come on the market, you can pull the trigger basically at any time.
Right.
Knowing that, if you start identifying a few places you might enjoy, and you discover them, whether with myself or another agent, you'll discover these places, and it gives you that excitement to start, saying, all right, let's start cleaning out the basement.
Yeah.
Right. When you start getting it ready in that way, when you're ready to pull the trigger, there's not that much overlap.
Yeah.
Right. Because once you find that place, we're probably looking at, you're looking at typically about 45 days.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Is that
would be quick for us, but in interlude, we try to squeeze them for a little longer, but which you can do depending on the seller situation, right? Right.
For sure.
Yeah.
44 years. That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I myself am a true Bostonian. I was born at Beth Israel Hospital.
Ah,
I spent some time in Medford.
yeah.
And
We're kids from Somerville High School.
Somerville. Okay, so my mother went to Dorchester High School,
Yeah.
and my grandmother owned real estate in the West End of Boston. Do you
Wow.
remember the West End?
Yes.
Um,
Eminent domain.
Eminent domain. There you go. Do you want to hear a funny story about that? My grandmother was a little feisty, and they kept raising the taxes in Boston, right?
Really?
In the West End. So she would go in to the city hall and she would ask for abatements because she felt that her property was being taxed too high.
Sure.
Well, didn't that just bite her in the butt
Yeah.
when they came and took the property via eminent domain,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what happened. That's it's so funny from now. I don't know the last time you've been into the city, but I don't even recognize Boston anymore.
No.
Um,
Get lost every time. I used to deliver mail there when I was in college, and sometimes I go and it's not the same as the last time I went.
Yep. My brother, I remember, used to be a busboy at Anthony's Pier 4.
Oh, we used to love to go there.
Right? Anthony's Pier 4 is now, a high rise with a, $3 million penthouse.
Yeah, amazing.
You don't even recognize the seaport anymore.
It's true.
Or the seaport itself never even exists. It didn't exist.
I that's explosive. That growth has been explosive.
It's incredible. Yeah, it's attached to South Boston now, and
Yeah.
it's so different. It's so different.
Yeah.
Well, Jim and Jeanette, I will follow up with you if you have any other questions. Do you have any questions about the process of selling? I know you haven't done it for 44. You probably have never sold a property.
Well, no, we sold. We had a first house we built when we were 22 years old. So we were there for 7 years, and then we came here. No, I owned some commercial, industrial stuff. So, I had a business, so we were buying and selling. I think the process, I'm not intimidated by the process per se.
Yeah.
The whole thing is the whole pivot to us is where would we go?
Yeah. Well, the good news is you've narrowed it down quite a bit, to be honest with you, right? Because some sellers, when they say, where do we go? They don't necessarily have children in the area keeping them around, right? So, they're questioning, do we go to Florida?
Yeah.
Do we go to the mountains?
Sure.
Do we go to Hilton Head?
Yeah.
So those are even bigger questions. And during COVID, you couldn't make any decisions.
Oh no, everything was
Anywhere to
frozen.
find those places.
Everything is frozen. What I worry about, Diane, is we've created a recipe so specific, that it's the finite number of opportunities.
Well, but you only need one,
Yeah.
right?
True.
You only need one. Have you gone to visit any places yet?
Well, we follow McIntosh. Red Mill Village, we drive through every time we leave my son's house. We've looked at a couple. There's one thing right around the corner from our daughter's house in Westwood by Bubbling Brook. It's on 109. It's on the side of a hill. That would not. I would not define that as woodsy. It's not, Jim Harrod woodsy. And the other thing that, the location is perfect, but it's too close. So, we thought or found had some inkling about some others, and we looked at them, and they looked more like smaller apartment buildings, like where Walpole Woodworkers used to be. They're building some. To me, those are they're condos, but they're apartment building condos.
You're referring to Pennington.
I didn't know the name, but it's on the Walpole Woodworkers spot.
Right. So they're garden style, right? It's more like living in a hotel.
Yeah, like Avalon. To me, that's an analog to what Avalon is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And some people like that, and some people don't.
Yeah,
right.
No, if I were young, if I can even remember what that was like. But now we pretty prescribed about, you know, what we think we like and not like.
Yeah, yeah. Well, listen, it's good that you know, and it'll make the search for you more specific, and you'll find something. I don't have any doubt that the place there's a few places also in Rentham
Yeah.
that are newer. They just built some in Easton. And there's also, there's also some resales of some places too that are not
Yes. Yeah. Well,
necessarily.
then we can,
Yeah.
you know, every time a resale pops up in Red Mill Village, we say, well, is that on this street? I mean, we know it like it's our second neighborhood, you know, but we're not going to pull the trigger there, I don't think, because they're too tight, you know?
It's so interesting you say that, because I've been in the units there and they're beautiful.
They're
right?
beautiful, exquisite.
They're
Yeah.
beautiful. They're large. They have a lot of interest on the interiors,
Yeah.
right? With the fireplace models and
Yeah.
the high ceilings. But I agree with you when you're driving in there, and that's not uncommon here in New England. That's not
Yeah.
uncommon. I was in. I'm trying to remember if it was Medfield, but there was another development where you're inside the unit and it's stunning.
Yes.
You can't even, have a guest come over to park your car.
No, that was, you know what, in Red Mill Village, if we had a family event, I don't know where the people would park. We'd have to get buses from the stadium or something. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's pretty crazy. I want to, you haven't sold in 40 years. I'm going to pull up this slide. This here, and I just want to show everybody, I had another question about getting their house ready. And, this is a slide that we show to people because back 44 years ago, people were opening up the Boston Sunday Globe to look at a house, right?
Right. A lot different now.
And nowadays, not so much. And I would argue that this 50% statistic here that buyers are finding the home they want on the internet is higher.
Yeah.
This is from 2018.
Yeah.
But because of this, having the photographs and the staging industry has really exploded.
Yeah.
During this pandemic and
Yes.
beyond, because the visual
Yeah.
of properties, buyers today, I will tell you, I don't know if it's generational, but there's not a lot of imagination there.
Yeah.
And what's happened, we deal with, I work with my husband who's a buyer agent, and Bruce, we'll tell buyers, don't buy that. They'll walk into a house with a shiny refrigerator and
Yeah.
stainless steel appliances, and they've thrown on some quartz or granite countertops.
Yeah.
But it's a flip,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
A flipper came in, they bought a property in distress.
Yeah.
It took them maybe 3 months to
Yeah.
put some lipstick on it, as we say.
Yeah.
And they try to, put $300 of value on it.
Yeah.
But buyers fall for it. And this is why, we love what we do when we talk to buyers, because they would be so disappointed, right? And I think that's a lot of times when we see things go back on the market because there's no quality there. It's visually, it looks good, but it doesn't, there's no substance to it.
Yeah.
So for that reason, that is why presenting your house and your property is so important,
Yes.
right? If
Yeah.
your house is solid, it's got great bones, it's in a great neighborhood, but your furniture is
Yeah.
really old
Yeah.
and dated,
Right.
right? Or if you put carpeting throughout your house, because I'll be honest, my grandmother loved carpeting,
Right.
right? Warm, it's cozy.
Right.
It was very, very clean all the time.
Yeah.
But today's buyers, they don't want carpeting,
Yeah.
right? So I wanted to show, I love these pictures. This is all right, see, this is, here we go again with my technology skills. Let me see if I can do this. Here we go. All right. This was a recent house that we put on the market,
Yeah.
and we got an over asking offer for.
Yeah.
Look
I
at
like the one on the right.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay. It's the same room as the one on the left,
Oh, really?
Jim. Is that incredible?
Yeah, it is.
So this is a perfect example. This is real life. It's very difficult for me to spend sellers' money But what you can't see is this house has all wallpaper,
Yeah.
but it's very neutral. And it would have cost the sellers a fortune to remove the wallpaper,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So we picked our battles. That blue carpeting,
Yeah.
it's lovely, right?
Yeah.
That hardwood flooring on the right picture
Yeah.
existed under
Yeah.
that carpeting
Oh my God.
throughout the entire house,
Yeah.
right? So it was much more, they were going to get a much larger ROI, return on investment
Yeah.
by removing that carpeting and just refinishing, sanding those floors than doing the walls.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. And then our professional stager, Nancy Saffron from Show House Home Staging, she does an amazing, amazing job. I had to give her a plug.
Yeah.
Look at that house on the right. And
Yeah.
here's the funny thing: the mirror on the top.
Yeah.
That is the most old-fashioned mirror you've ever seen.
Yeah.
I know you can't tell it in the picture, but there's gold embellishments on
The
each
frame.
corner.
Yeah. Yeah.
And,
It's like one we have, Diane, but
but it works, right? Right? It works. Like taking out all the furniture that she had, there were heavy curtains on the windows.
Yep.
This picture on the left, to be honest with you, isn't even the original. The original had very
furniture. Yeah.
It had very, very, very dated furniture with flowers on it. It had very ornate lamps and it had very heavy drapery. Yet all the windows in the house were brand new.
Yeah.
Right? So taking everything off, people walking through and seeing this so light and bright really made a huge difference.
Yeah.
And these are a few more examples. This house is on Brook Road.
Yeah.
On the left. Look at the dark. There's even a wall unit in the wall. But look what happened on the right.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. They opened it up tremendously. Yeah.
I mean, that's just paint.
Yeah.
And different furniture.
Yeah. Yeah.
This one here, I don't know where you are in Sharon. This is Grove Street in Sharon, right in the center of town.
Yeah, I know it. Yeah.
And once again, a little bit of paint is the cheapest fix we can do on properties nowadays.
Yeah.
A fresh coat of paint does wonders.
Yeah. These are transformative, and I can see the appeal. It's it makes a tremendous difference all around.
The people walk in and that's the thing. These buyers, they don't want to do any work, right? And if they want to do work, they don't want to do a ton of work.
No.
So to be able to come in and visualize themselves living there, knowing, well, all right, we can change this paint color perhaps.
Right.
Or, in this room, if you look at the bottom picture, the one on the left, it's tough to tell, but in the one on the right, we painted the fireplace white.
Yeah.
You see that? It's almost blending in with the wall on the right.
Yes, I can see the striations. Yeah.
And same thing with the carpeting. Believe it or not, thankfully that carpeting was not even pinned down to the floor.
Yeah.
It was just placed on the hardwood flooring and cut in the right size.
Yeah.
So we just had to lift it up.
Wow, that's great.
Lifted it up, painted the walls, removed all the tchotchkes. You see the shelves in the corners.
Yep.
All of that. It all came off and we just gave it a nice clean look.
Yeah.
And some people might think it's boring, but it sells houses.
Yeah.
Right.
One of the questions that I think I don't want to dominate. Is there other people have questions or?
I'm going to check. Kaylin, one of my marketing directors, on here, and she's going to help me tell me if we have any other questions. And I don't know. I'm going to take a look. But go ahead, Jim. While we're waiting.
Well, one of the questions for us is we're retired. I've been retired for 10 years. We've been in the house a long time. There's some things that we have been deferring doing, like kind of major things, like upgrading the windows, redoing bathrooms. The kitchen is up to date, but some of the bathrooms are a little older. Yeah. And we keep saying, and the mantra for us, I don't know if it's true or not, I think we're already pretty close to what the ceiling for a house in our neighborhood would be. I'm not saying it's the max house in the neighborhood, right, but not a lot of room above that. So if we spend, let's say we spend $50,000 on windows and a bathroom and a cosmetic, makeover to go to gray and get rid of the, the beiges and the other stuff that we have. I know you talk about return on investment, but if you're already close to the ceiling for what the neighborhood will bear, I don't see, if I spend $50,000 to do that stuff, I'm not going to take my house at X and be X plus 40 or anything. So the question is, do we sell it more or less as is? It is acceptable, maybe older looking for a young buyer, and let them do it.
Here's what I tell people. If you have, there's got to be something redeeming about the quality of your house in order to get top dollar for your house. So what do I mean by that? If your house has an old roof and original windows, and an original furnace, and no central air conditioning, and carpeting, that's a lot to overcome. For today's buyer to get top dollar. Okay. Oh my goodness. Stu Rotman, hello. Welcome to the home seller series. Oh my God. How timely is this? Stu writes, let me bring his comment on. Stu writes, she had us get a new roof, paint everything a neutral color, and stainless appliances. Well worth it. So that was a perfect example. That's what we did for Stu's house in Sharon, actually. This was a few years back. But he also had an older furnace. He also had original windows. Right? But the touches that we did put on it, and being able to say that it had a new roof, right? So because, listen, at the end of the day, a roof really isn't that expensive, but buyers hear roof and they think, oh my God.
Big deal, reconstruct the house.
Right? So you do the roof, right? You do the roof. We can market it that there's a new roof. And, the whole thing is disclosing that you have original windows. I would work on paint colors, and I would work on decluttering the house, and perhaps some staging. $50,000 for new windows. Here's what I would tell you. With all due respect, I think the problem with a lot of sellers, and I'm not saying this is you, but just because the market is really hot, if the things that are old in your house, it's deferred maintenance. You can't expect somebody to pay top dollar. If I put your house, your exact house, same square footage, built in the same year, next to the same house next door, and the house next door has a new roof, new windows, new furnace, is all painted, and your house is all original.
Oh no, I can understand that. Sure.
Right. But I would also say that in today's market, you have to talk to somebody before you make that statement that you're at the top of the market for value in your neighborhood, because that may not be true.
Okay.
Right. So you just have to be careful with that. However, if you're looking at, I would not recommend to anyone that they spend $50,000 on new windows at this
time. If 50,000 was the aggregate,
or even 30,000, whatever it may be. But looking at your house and hoping that there's some redeeming elements of it, and again, location and neighborhood and size and flow. And listen, the beauty of being in New England and working as a realtor in New England is every house is different, right? You go to Arizona, right? Everything's a box. Everything's better.
And the wide open spaces in the house are on little postage stamp units. I can't believe it.
Yeah. So, we've got a lot of character here. So every house is different. And I'll be honest with you. I mean, there are certain houses that, if you're in a neighborhood, for example, of all split level houses, right? If you're in a neighborhood of all raised ranches, you don't want to over improve your house for the neighborhood. Right. You put too much money into that neighborhood. The people that are coming in to live in a raised ranch in Sharon, because the price of a raised ranch, $5,650, right, for a raised ranch, they're not expecting to get brand new, right? So you don't want to over improve things either, and do something that's sort of, I guess what I'm trying to say is out of character for the neighborhood, right?
How long how long before we would put the house up for sale? Would we need somebody to come and take a look, somebody like yourself or one of you people, take a look at our individual house and say, well, you definitely want to do that. You know, you maybe want to think about that, but you shouldn't
Yep.
have to do that. How
Yep.
many months?
So my client Sharon Schechter is on this. I think she's watching. Her house took about 3 months to get ready.
Yeah. Okay.
That was a long time, but she
Yeah.
also did an entire exterior paint,
Yeah.
right? A full landscaping. So it's very individual.
Yeah.
We put houses on the market as quickly as a week.
Yeah.
But I think for the most part, you know, coming in, we provide a staging consultation.
Yeah.
The stager comes in, gives a full report, and then you decide what you want to do.
Yeah.
And, you know, right now, I mean, the problem right now is all contractors are still so busy.
Oh my God. They don't even call you back.
I know. So, you know, you've got to work with someone who's got connections and,
Yeah.
you know, you get a painter in there and you get it
Yeah.
painted. And if you need the floors done and if you need to start purging, less is more.
Yeah.
You know, if you're not taking it with you to your new location,
Yeah.
get rid of it.
Yeah.
You know, get rid of it now. Don't wait till after it sells because less is more in this market for
Right.
sure.
Right.
You know?
Well, thank you for that. That was enlightening.
Yeah. You're welcome. So yeah, it can take, depending on what you need to do. I don't think, I would say on average, it's taking sellers, you know, anywhere from 2 weeks to 30 days on average to get their house ready to hit the market.
Yeah.
I should say, get it ready for professional photographs.
Yeah.
And get it ready so when they are ready to list, that we're ready
Yes.
to go. Yeah.
Okay. That's helpful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, my pleasure. It was so nice chatting with you.
Yes.
And let me grab one of these other questions we have over here. And let me see. Bruce, what did you say? I had a buyer seller take a loan from a 401k to buy and replenish when sell. That's another great point, right? You know, people that don't have enough equity perhaps in their house, you can take a loan from your 401k in order to buy a new house. The issue is you will get penalties if you don't pay it back in a timely manner. So that is just something to keep in mind and be aware of. Jim, if you're still on, Stu added some color to your question, which said the houses we just bought and sold went for well over the price of houses around us. And that's true. That's true. Stu's, we sold in Foxborough in a neighborhood and we set a new record.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, and that's what's happening. And I'm sure you're familiar with Sharon Woods.
Yeah.
You know, one of my listings in Sharon Woods just sold over $1 million.
Yeah. Wow.
So you know, where people, you know, 5 years ago were like, those were like $600,000-$700,000
Yes.
houses.
Yeah.
Now they're creeping up. It's not to say every house is $1 million there,
Right.
but the median price range is changing and it's just continuing to go up. And I think we're going to see that continue.
Really?
You know, because it starts setting again, if interest rates go up, but it's definitely a period of time where this is just what's happening in the market, and it has nothing to do with the subprime market and the craziness of 2008.
Sure. Yeah. No.
There's no imminent crash.
Yeah.
Now, could a meteor, you know, fall on the country and the planet? You know, I mean,
Sure.
you know, another COVID or something worse than that. Who knows?
Uh-huh.
But you know, we can't predict that. But overall, I think we're all, you know, and that's the other thing. Being in New England, you know, land's at a premium. There isn't a lot of land,
Yeah.
and so many people are coming to towns like Sharon. Young people love this community, right? It's got a beautiful lake. Hopefully we'll be able to swim in it again soon. But you know, we've got it's really a beautiful place to live, not to mention it's only 27 minutes by commuter rail to the city of Boston.
Sure.
Right. So and building a new high school, despite the taxes, believe it or not, Jim, it's the last thing we hear from buyers coming into this community.
Mm.
It's the last thing we hear is they're like, yeah, we don't want to live in Sharon. We hate the taxes.
Mm.
People want a lifestyle,
No, it's nice.
you know? The people want to come here for the same reason you wanted to come here 44 years ago.
And I want to stay here.
Yeah.
Maybe another 44, maybe.
There you go.
33. How about that?
There you go. There you go. Cheryl, I wanted to say hi to you. I see that you came on. Cheryl, we're gonna flip a house together, Cheryl, you and me. I think we have that in our blood. We want to find a project. There's a few of them that we've driven by, and that would be a fun project to do. Speaking of that, we have a few people in Sharon that have bought homes in Rhode Island. Rhode Island is a great beach community that some people don't think about. You know, when you're living in Massachusetts, a lot of people think of Cape Cod and going south. But going over that bridge, or like my brother who bought a house on Martha's Vineyard, you know, it's a tough place to get to. It's beautiful, but to be able to go there just for a weekend or even just for a night, it's a lot. It's a lot more effort. Rhode Island, the communities of Narragansett, Westerly. My friend Justin talks about an area called Bonnet Shores. And listen, if Watch Hill is good enough for Taylor Swift, it's good enough for me. Just saying. So that's another great community to look at. Westerly, Rhode Island. Here we go. Here's the tip. Cheryl is saying it's 62 miles straight off of 95. It's a great community, Cheryl. I discovered it because of you. I never knew about Westerly, Rhode Island, but that brought me back. The beach clubs that were on the beach, I loved that. Charlestown, Charleston or Charlestown? Because there's a Charlestown, Mass. There's also Charlestown, Rhode Island, another great beach community. And the prices are not like the prices down the Cape. So that's another an area. If you're looking to sell and find a beach community, that's where I would start looking. And oh my gosh, I can't even believe it. We are coming up on 8 o'clock. I just want to thank everybody who joined and tuned in and watched. I'm going to do this again next Thursday. And we've had a lot of people write in and post questions, and I don't think I've covered them all. So if you are interested, let us know, post below, and we'll come back on next Thursday. I think part of
Wednesday.
I'm sorry?
Wednesday.
Wednesday? What's today?
We're coming back on next Wednesday.
Excuse me. We're coming back next Wednesday. Thank
Correct.
you, Caitlin. Appreciate that. We're coming back next Wednesday. I think that the one thing I want to do here is also come with some details on some of these different communities so people can see what's available and what the price points are and start educating people. So, and if people are interested in other states and places in Boston or whatnot, we can highlight, we can even bring on some other agents from other markets to help show us and tell us what's going on in those markets in other states and other further towns that are further away. So thank you, everybody. And I'm going to end this live broadcast. I hope that I answered everyone's questions. I'm Diane Needle, and this was the Home Seller Series. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Diane.
All
Thank
right.
you very
Good
much.
night, everyone. My pleasure.
Good night.